She thought her dog was just digging, until he uncovered something that shattered the peace of an entire neighborhood. John Harris had played the role of devoted husband and father for years, all while hiding an unthinkable truth beneath his own backyard. But one unexpected discovery unraveled everything he tried to bury. Just wait until you hear the shocking turn this story takes, and how justice, in the end, found its way back. Mornings in Millbrook usually passed without incident. The soundscape was familiar: the hum of sprinklers, the chirping of birds, the rhythmic buzz of lawn mowers starting up as the sun rose over the quiet cul-de-sac. On most weekends, neighbors greeted each other over coffee and trimmed hedges, and the air carried nothing heavier than the smell of fresh-cut grass. But this Saturday, something felt off. It started with barking, persistent, sharp, and anxious. Buster, the Wilsons' old black lab, was not known for making noise unless he had a reason. Linda Wilson, retired schoolteacher and longtime resident of the block, was sipping her morning tea when she heard it. The barking didn't fade. It intensified, sharp and rhythmic, like something urgent was happening. She stepped out in her robe, calling his name. "Buster, what is it, boy?" But the dog didn't turn. His head was low, shoulders tense, paws tearing at the dirt behind the Harris family's shed. Linda moved closer, annoyed at first. The Harrises weren't home, and she worried Buster would damage their property. But as she rounded the hedge and saw the hole he had carved out, her breath caught. There was something buried, not just soil, a shape, large, uneven, wrapped tightly in heavy-duty plastic, smudged with dark stains and packed with soil. Linda hesitated. Her instincts told her to stop, but curiosity, or maybe concern, pulled her forward. She knelt, reached out with trembling fingers, and peeled back a corner of the plastic. What she saw didn't make sense at first. The shape, the texture. Then her brain caught up. It was a hand, pale, still, curled slightly inward. The air around it was damp and stale, carrying a smell she couldn't place but would never forget. Linda stumbled back and screamed. The silence of the street shattered. Within minutes, the block was swarming with flashing lights and uniformed officers. Yellow tape unfurled across the Harris property. A white tent was raised over the site behind the shed. People gathered, slippers, coffee mugs, phones in hand. Some recorded, others whispered. No one could comprehend it. In their neighborhood, this close to home, children had played within feet of that shed. Families had grilled, laughed, and watched fireworks on the 4th of July, never knowing what lay beneath the soil. But not everyone was surprised. John Harris, the man who owned the house, stood motionless on his porch. His wife, Molly, was gripping their young daughter, visibly shaken and confused. But John didn't speak. He didn't ask questions. He didn't react the way the others did. His face was expressionless. And when officers approached him with cautious voices and serious eyes, he didn't seem confused. He didn't even blink, because somewhere inside he already knew what they had found. The crime lab worked quickly. Within 48 hours, the remains uncovered in the Harris backyard were confirmed to belong to a woman, estimated to be in her early 30s. The condition of the remains and the depth of burial suggested she had been there for years, quietly hidden just beneath the surface of a peaceful suburban lawn. Dental records finalized the identification. Jennifer Rose, a nurse from Brookfield, a neighboring town. She had been reported missing in October 2021. At the time, her disappearance sparked a modest search, but no solid leads ever emerged. Her case eventually faded into the backlog until now. As soon as her name appeared in the system, one detail stood out. Jennifer had been last seen at a local bar with John Harris. The investigation shifted immediately. Officers returned to the Harris home, this time with a warrant. The garage was carefully searched. Inside a storage cabinet, behind boxes of holiday lights and camping gear, they found 2 items wrapped in an old towel: a bracelet engraved with Jennifer's initials and a small leather planner with her name inside the front cover. The discovery changed everything. John was taken in for questioning. At first, he claimed he barely knew Jennifer, that they had spoken once, briefly. But under pressure, and with growing evidence against him, he changed his story. 2 days later, he confessed, according to John, the relationship with Jennifer had started as an escape. He said he felt trapped, responsible for his family, his image, his reputation in the community. Jennifer was younger, warm, understanding. It wasn't supposed to go far, but things got complicated. Emotions deepened, and when Jennifer told him she was expecting a child, she gave him an ultimatum: leave your family or let me go. He panicked. They met behind the same shed where the body would later be discovered. He claimed they argued. Words escalated. In a moment of desperation, he pushed her. She lost her balance. Her head struck a rock. John said it was immediate. And then, silence. He didn't call for help. He didn't turn himself in. He buried her, right there, then walked inside, kissed his children goodnight, and continued with his life. In the weeks and months that followed, John volunteered at the community center. He led prayer at the church. He grilled burgers at neighborhood cookouts. To everyone around him, he was the man you could count on. Calm, responsible, generous. But none of it was real. His wife, Molly, sat across from detectives as they read back his confession. She said nothing for several minutes, just stared at the wall. Then she asked a single question, her voice barely above a whisper. Was she really pregnant? The answer shattered her. She hadn't known about Jennifer. She hadn't known about the affair. And she certainly hadn't known that the place where her daughter learned to ride a bike, where they set up sprinklers in the summer, was also the site of a buried secret. Molly collapsed during one of the interviews. Neighbors described her as a woman hollowed out from the inside. When news of the confession spread through Millbrook, the tone shifted from shock to fury. People were angry. Angry that someone they trusted had deceived them. Angry that a woman had disappeared and no one thought to look in their own backyard. Angry that for years a lie had been protected by silence, charm, and a manicured lawn. Photos of John at school events and church potlucks were quietly taken down. His name, once spoken with respect, now left a bitter taste. Parents held their children closer. Teens who once ran freely through the yards after dark were now kept inside. A neighborhood known for being open and friendly suddenly felt cold, closed off, wary. Because now everyone was wondering the same thing. If something this terrible could be hidden for so long, what else don't we know about the people around us? The courtroom was full, but no one made a sound. John Harris sat still, his hands folded, his eyes lowered, as the judge read the sentence. Life in prison, no possibility of parole. He had pleaded guilty to manslaughter and unlawful concealment. His explanation, that it was a tragic mistake, not a planned act, mattered little in the end. For the people of Millbrook, it wasn't just about what happened that night. It was about the years that followed. The deception, the smiling presence at block parties, the man who coached Little League while a secret lay buried in his own backyard. When the gavel finally struck, there were no cheers, only silence. In the weeks after the sentencing, Molly Harris quietly packed up her life. With her 2 children, she left Millbrook and moved to Vermont, choosing to return to her maiden name. She never spoke publicly. Friends said she simply wanted a new start, somewhere no one knew her past. The Harris home was listed for sale and bought by a couple from out of town. They renovated, repainted, replaced the old fence. But the story lingered. Locals still referred to it as the house with the backyard, a quiet reminder of the tragedy that once lived there. Near the oak tree behind the shed, a memorial began to grow. It started with a candle, then a photo of Jennifer Rose, her smile warm and unmistakably kind. Someone left flowers. A child left a teddy bear. Another wrote on a note card, "You didn't deserve this. We're sorry." Linda Wilson, the neighbor whose dog had uncovered everything, was asked once how she felt about what happened. Her answer was simple. "I wish it never happened, but I'm glad she's not hidden anymore. At least now She matters to all of us. In time, life in Millbrook resumed. Lawns were mowed. Kids played ball in driveways. The neighborhood looked the same. But people had changed. They greeted each other with more care. They listened differently. They noticed what went unsaid, because now they understood something they hadn't before. Even in the most peaceful places, the truth can lie just beneath the surface. And sometimes it takes something as small as a dog digging in the dirt to bring it to light.